You're good.
Okay, the Democratic Caucus is back in order. I'm going to ask Mr. Girl to go over.
Yep. Let's see here. Let me just pull it up here real quick here. Give me 2 seconds.
Well, most of these names.
Okay, so basically it was the mental health tax fund. I think I got the right one up here. Just give me 2 seconds. Did you guys go through all the other ones already? Sorry.
Yeah, we went through, I think all the other committees, most of them didn't have, four of them didn't have any action taken. So we, operations, did we do ops too?
Nothing in ops.
Huh?
We started, but I got cut off.
Oh, okay. So let's let Bert finish with this and then we'll go back to ops. So Bert, you want to finish with finance?
Yeah. Just give me 2 seconds and I was just right there. Sorry. Close enough. Okay. Let's see here. I have my last week's notes, so just
Mainly we're interested in the two items for the sheriff's department.
Yep.
There's 3 items for the sheriff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Four,
so,
actually.
Okay, all the items for the sheriff's department.
so there was 2 items, I believe, for the sheriff's department. One was a budget amendment in the amount of 2 million. Hold on, let me just get right back to that. 2,723,000 and some change. It was roughly about $640,000 in overtime for the sheriff's department. Let's see here. And there was also a grant, which I think we are turning down.
That's what I read it.
Yeah, it would have cost us 1.7 over 4 years. The grant covers 625,000 over those first 4 years. So to add 5 additional deputies at a cost of 1.7, and then the full cost after the grant is expired, it didn't seem to really make too much financial sense.
And I believe it was what, 5-3 against?
I think it was. I had it written down. It was 3-4, so it failed. 3 yes, 4 no.
Okay.
For that one, the budget amendment for the sheriff did pass 5-2, and that is going to be something that we're going to have to really think about hard. We're about $7 to $8 million right now in deficit. We're below our 25% threshold in the general fund. This would basically come from the general fund, saying that the public safety sales tax fund's pretty much done. So you're talking 7-8 plus this. We're almost at anywhere from $9 to $11 million deficit if we take in this budget amendment. I know Paul Arena is trying to come in with some language about if departments want a budget amendment, they have to provide the funding source, which pretty much already happens in a sense. A department will come in and say they want to take from supplies services so they can move money and use it elsewhere. So if a department comes in and wants a budget amendment with no money in it, it usually comes from the general fund. So these are just some of the things that we consistently ask in finance. So we'll have to see what Paul's resolution is. And we also had some pending litigation that we settled. There was, I believe, 3 settlements that came out of finance, and finance agreed passed resolutions to settle these. One was for $96,000. That was Deputy Stephen Wright, who was involved in that shooting, if you remember that. I think it was 2017. And then we have Marlena Brown versus River Bluff. She was an employee there. We settled for $80,781. And these were all recommended to settle from the state's attorney. Next one is another employee at River Bluff. She was kicked by an employee in the knee. So we agreed to settle with her for the tune of $43,735. And then let's see, there's a mental health tax amendment that's for $45,000. We're just going to advance from the host fees into the mental health tax fund that is Steve Chapman setting up so they can actually get started on some administrative work, do a mental health scan of the community, and provide basically a guideway to their budget for 2021. And
I see Mr. Salgato's joined us. Jaime, did you get the chance to hear most of what Bert said?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much he covered everything. There's that 3 workman's comp, like you said, the $45,000 budget amendment for the, as he was alluding to, for the mental health board is just an administrative thing that we have to do, take it out of the host fees, as Bert was saying. The sheriff, the 2.7, I just want to clarify some things. From my perspective, I know Paul wants to push a resolution, and Bert's kind of right on the track to say where the funds should be, where the reductions should occur. So say, for example, like 2.7 is a huge hit. So, you know, they can say, yeah, it's going to come out of the the general fund reserves, which is fine, and everything, but it has to be with a plan of where to take it out, because the problem that we're running into is potentially at the end of the year, you know, we accumulate, and I brought this up about the sheriff. I do appreciate for him coming out and actually doing a budget amendment, because it's not like at the end of the year, oh, by the way, I'm 2.7 overspent. So he actually forecasted, this is where I'm going to end. So kudos, credit to them on that. But in the nutshell, you know, when it's not distinguished between a zero balance effect, well, there's got to be an offset somewhere down the road. And so this resolution would essentially ask those departments, if you're doing a budget amendment that obviously is going to be a deficit of some sort, there's got to be some sort of solution where the reduction might be. And Bert's right on the right trail. $8 million worth of revenue shortfall that Mr. Chapman has projected from the revenue from the COVID, that we're going to see reduction, plus the 2 million, that's about $10 million, 11. So it brings to the question, you know, we need to start making those decisions where the reductions are going to occur. We can say we're going to take it out of reserves and everything, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we also have to have an offset. And we're going to have these tough budget discussions. And I'll talk about this a little bit, potentially, you know, making reductions elsewhere within the budget. You know, so they're going to be tough discussions. I 100% want the board members to kind of say, these are our priorities. This is where the funding should really focus heavily on. And then we make strategic decisions. It's kind of like the Park District. They got an uproar because Sinisippi was the golf course. If you know, it wasn't one of their biggest priorities. They saw a trend going down where, you know, golf just didn't make sense. And so they went ahead and started looking at different facilities where they felt that, you know, would be okay to kind of shut down. They shut down Sinisippi Park. Then there was a whole huge uproar from the community. Why are you doing that? Why you're trying to close that? So decisions like that will have to be made, unfortunately. You know, if we want to continue to say public safety is a priority over certain areas, I just think that, you know, and this is a discussion that we're going to talk about from a budget perspective, and not just this year coming up, but the next year's coming up. So Bert, I think, hit every single aspect of it that we're going to cover, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to lay over the, unless there's any objections from the county board members, I am going to lay over the $2.7 million budget amendment. COPS grant has to go through because they're in a timeline crunch. So we'll get that in to be voted on, and see what direction we go. And Bert was saying $1.7 million. That's true. We do get some funding, and I think it's a quarter, and we have to pay 3/4 of it each year for 4 years. And then after that, it just becomes a legacy cost. So then, a decision has to be made whether those deputies, have to be essentially cut, or, we're going to absorb them somehow. So yeah, go ahead, Mr. Fellers. You have a.
Yeah, so to be clear on the COPS grant, that did not pass committee.
That's correct.
And then the way it works is the grant funds roughly 20%.
Yeah,
Of what would
25%.
be of 1.7 million, but after it's over, we're on the hook for the whole thing. So in addition to it costing us another, call it, 1.4 million, 1.45 million over that time period, we then got to figure out how to find 2 more million afterwards in a budget that's already $2.7 million and change overextended. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And just so you know, for full disclosure, I know Mr. McDonald brought up the point that maybe some of that overtime that we're currently spending could be reduced with the additional hires. But once again, with insurance and the legacy costs that are associated with that, who knows? I think it's going to be a tremendous amount. Sure, it might reduce some of that overtime that we're seeing currently right now. But at the same time, we got to think about the negotiating and the insurance and the pension and all that comes with it, the legacy costs that are associated with it. But kudos to Mr. McDonald for bringing up that, we could see a reduction in overtime if we were to hire these 5 additional deputies with this COPS grant. So he brought that up. I just wanted a full disclosure for everybody. But from my perspective, it's not a good ROI from our perspective. Sure, we might see additional deputies out in the street helping reduce crime, but at the same time, we're in a budget crunch and we're trying to play with that. So that's where we're at on that. And other than that, I think that's pretty much. Mr. Chapman will talk a little bit more about the budget since we are getting closer. We're going to have meetings. I know this month, August, we should already be sitting down with departments. So more to come on that on the next finance committee.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Probably have to get ready to adjourn and try to find the next meeting. So, can I get a motion to adjourn? Mr. Girl, Mr. Fellers, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
See you guys in a bit.
Stay safe out there.
Always.
Hey, Gus, is this the same link for the county board meeting?
No, it's a different one.
Okay.
Thanks, Bert.
See you guys.
See ya.